Welcome to a Bonzolium series. Now, this is a series. Well, I just want to make a couple videos like in a row where I specifically talk about this issue. I've often talked about it, well, various times in my videos over the last 10 years I've been making videos. The concept of time not played to a click track or sequencer. I mean, in through like the, even as far back as the 60s, sometimes they would sequence things for like movie scores and stuff. But what started to happen is, what kind of started, I think, in the 60s and 70s to maintain tempos that were very, well, consistent. They used click tracks, which essentially, there was actually a thing called a click track, which went click, click, click like that. Okay, and then over time, of course, now we have drum beats. Oftentimes when people play to a click track in the studio now, they'll be playing to like, I mean, seriously though, it's like a beat of like 8 people, but going like, and that's a hell of a lot easier to play along to than, okay. But my point is what's happened really in the last, well, arguably 20 years, is there's a concept now, and I see even when I see bands on stage sometimes, and they're a cover band or an original band, and the drummer turns around and he's like, all right, what are we doing? This is at 108, right? Like 108 BPM. Well, the drummer then puts a clip. They all have, because there's in-ear monitors and stuff now, they're all playing along for the whole song live to a click track. Now, in and of itself, there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of people in the past couple generations that all the music they really listen to, like popularly, is all gridded, click-tracked, perfect time songs from the very beginning of the song to the very end of the song. I mean, it has its place. Like in drum machine songs like rap and hip-hop and stuff, the genres come about really because of that. Like back in the day, a lot of hip-hop writers and stuff, they'd put on like a Roland... Is it a Roland 808, I guess? Or 909, or Phil Collins and Prince and Sting and a lot of these people way back in the day, they'd put on a drum machine and then they just put chords over it and then they track that and then they might or might not overdub real drums and things like that. My point is there's a lot. I think there's an issue now, though, where I think a lot of bands go in and they record and it's just assumed off the bat, like the producer or the engineer is like, all right, what are we doing this at 121? And the whole song from beginning to end is just this tempo. They play along to the click. In the old days, what they do is they'd play along to the click maybe 8 or 10 or 12 takes, or maybe 1 or 2 takes, depending on how good the drummer was, and they would snip together a performance that would be perfect. Even in that, though, if you have a drummer playing along to a click and it's not digitally edited, if it's manually edited, whether on tape or not, but not quantized, not automatically put on a grid, but musicians playing along to it manually, humanly to the click track, it's still not going to be 100% binary perfect. And that's what I'm getting at. I think with a lot of music, I mean, apart from stuff people are familiar with in genres, music they like that way, binary works, but there's a lot of, remember, for the thousands and thousands of years humans have been listening to music. It's been on human time, where you might be like, hey, we're gonna sing along, da 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 da. Hey, and that, now the time changed a little there in that little part I had also too when I sang it, even for a minute, it was probably a little bit like this. That's what I think a lot humans are used to. We're not used to binary. Well, it'd be an interesting study if you had like a 2 samples, like a sample of 100 people here and 100 people there, young kids, younger people who've never really heard Zeppelin. But you assume, let's say they would like Zeppelin, but they still never heard it. Well, or they've never heard a particular, let's say they all never heard When the Levee Breaks. Well, When the Levee Breaks, let's say you quantized When the Levee Breaks, the original recording, and the other one you do regular. Well, let's see out of 100, how many people you could say a criteria become total Led Zeppelin freaks. See, part of the thing about Zeppelin in a lot of music, I mean, Zeppelin obviously doesn't have to hold on it, but this is the Zeppelin channel, and that's what we're talking about. The ingredient of time and control, the discretion, the time is an ingredient, like timbre, okay, and dynamics, and indeed the notes you use, like da, 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 da. Well, you could change it. Ooh, let's make it a violin. Or a trumpet. Ba, ba, ba. You know, those change the qualities to people. The dynamics, da, 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 or da, 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 right? But also the tempo. Da, 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 da. That is just taken for granted these days that just doesn't exist. It's because everyone's gotten so used to drum machines and put it on the grid and stuff. People, I think, like forget that the controlling of tempo in certain parts of songs for emotion's visceral sake is important. This isn't a flat out attack on the grid or click tracks or sequencing. It's not. But what I'm saying is it's an ingredient so often overlooked. Okay, and Zeppelin, well, a lot of bands, you know what, though Zeppelin in particular really is the master of it. Bonham was really the conductor of Zeppelin. See, that's kind of what a conductor does in an orchestra or symphony. He not only will, okay, well, I'm going to control, okay, the strings are a little louder, the tone, the timbre, right? And then, we're going to slow it down a little. We're going to make it softer. That's the conductor. See, those are the ingredients the conductor controls. Well, Bonham was like the conductor in Zeppelin. I'm dead serious here. This is a very good point, if I do say myself. And I've been talking about this here and there for 10 years, but I'm going to make a series specifically on it so we can keep it in a chunk, okay? So what, like for example, listen to Carouselambra. Na 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 na. Listen how Bonham brings it down there. Well, it's the whole mood and setting of the song. It's almost like we're coming from a journey into like a valley, like a large valley of like Little House on the Prairie. Imagine a valley of flowers, and it's just like, hey, and you're just, maybe some of you have had a couple glasses of wine, and others maybe in Colorado and California maybe smoked a bong or two, and you la na na na. But I'm serious. Next time you listen to Carouselambra, listen to that part. Part of the thing that sounds cool about that isn't just that the dynamics and the instrumentation and the notes have changed. It's slowed down a little. It's like a release. There's a tension and a release. It's the time, the control of time, that is the device that really controls that, okay? And that's something that's just taken for granted these days. It's just out the window. Because people are like, hey, what's that new song you wrote? That we're going to make 106 beats per minute from beginning to end. Okay, so my point is this. So check this out. Yesterday, or was it? Yeah, I think it was yesterday. I put a video out. It says Bonzolium 7/8 drum track for bass guitar layover. Asterisk, organic time video series coming soon. Well, here's the video series. Okay, so if you didn't see that yesterday, hang on a second here. I'm going to play a little of it. Hang on. Bear with me. Which one is... Oh, there it is. Okay, hang on. Of course, you can hear me here. Of course, I had to put some drama in it where I'm talking about my stool that I'm sitting on. I was sliding on because I had corduroys on. It wasn't because I had olestra and rectal or anal seepage. Of course, there was that Indian restaurant story. Oh, but so check this out. So the drum take that I did, chippity chop, roll it. Okay, is the following. And if you want to go on yesterday, it's called Bonzolium 7/8 drum track, and this is it. Listen. Ooh, hang on. This is it here, starting. Listen. So you can go back and listen to this, or just listen here. Now, what I did, skill purposes, if I'm able silence. There's a master of disaster on the East Coast. His name is Pete. There are a lot of great bass players in the world, but not as many as you think. So I had Pete, who was as far as I'm concerned, he's right up there with James Jamerson and John Paul Jones. I had him. I was like, Pete, if you could put over the bass, remember the bass line I was singing in this video? If you go back and see Bonzolium 7/8 drum track, which came from my Fabulous Sevens video 2 days before that. Da 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 na 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 na. Well, that was what I was playing to. Okay, and I was doing that. Serves a purpose a couple ways. It really helps you work on your meter. If I can sing something in 7 and play around it, and you can play around it while you keep it there. But also, too, the reason why I was singing it was because I wanted the person who was going to throw the instrumentation over the top hear my notes, but not just my notes, but my dynamics of it and exactly where they fall in my playing time with myself. Playing with myself, but time with myself. I'm the conductor of me in my brain. And my voice into the microphone is the mechanism by which I'm conducting it to the person who's going to hear it, who's going to overlay the bass. So, does that make sense? So now I will demonstrate to you as I received back. Ouch. This, okay? So here is, this better be right, because I'm still technology, not really happening, okay? So here we have my, this is with the bass added on. Da, 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 da. Now, an actual Fender jazz bass played by a human being to my non-click track, non-gridded song that I was singing and playing with myself here in the basement that you just heard a little of. You can go and see the video yesterday called Bonzolium 7/8 drum track for bass guitar layover. Now listen, check this out. Roll it. Exact same drums underneath. Okay, now do you hear there? Silence. There's a pocket there, okay? Now the bass player then went in, this pro named Pete the pro, went in and laid down the bass guitar on exactly where I was singing, where the bass or the melody I was playing to the basic melody structure, the ostinato of da 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 da. But in my mind while I'm playing, how I want it to sound. Like when it comes in, I wanted to play it when I'm playing it. There's a certain way, and especially Bonham would do this. That's where I'm getting it from. When he'd come in on the downbeats and stuff at the beginning of the song, there'd be slight drags and behind the beat placements, which would give it like a gravity. You know, it's like when you'd set down a box on the ground. It would kind of go. Chong, 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 like, you know what I'm saying? Like the effect that they do like in like Kashmir and When the Levee Breaks, that they do with the Binson Echarach in the room they recorded. Of course, I don't know if there's a Binson Echarach proper on Kashmir, and I don't think they did the Kashmir drums in the stairway at Headley Grange, although it was done at Headley Grange, probably in the big dining room. But anyway, you know the like. That's meant to it's to be a visceral emotion producing thingy that you also can do by controlling the time slightly. Sometimes that's why people want to make a grand entrance. Sometimes they'll come a little late. The concept of coming late, I'm serious. So remember, this is just what I played. Let me play that intro again and just listen to that, okay? So you seat the bass right on if you're tracking it in this fashion, since he is on the East Coast and not here. Here, one more time. Let's play that. Shall we? Roll it. You can hear me kind of singing underneath. 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I tried to make that, that's Bonhamy. That's kind of what Bonham and Zeppelin did. Make it real like a presence, like an emotional presence. Okay, now here's something I want to show you to help make my point. What the hell? Okay, so here we go. Now what I'm going to play you is the first time the bass player real fast just laid down. He picked the bass up real fast, just laid down the riff I wanted to over the exact same drums that you heard here with the bass laid down after he, I explained, I said, listen, let's lay it in the pocket, let's get right on. He did it quickly. But the very first one he did real fast, it was kind of like, well, this is the riff you want, but listen how it's not really in the pocket that I conducted originally as the conductor that I sang with my voice. Know what I'm saying? So check this out. Roll it. Okay, so check this out. So this is the exact same drums that I did in the Bonzolian 7/8 drum part, or that you just heard underneath the bass that was laid on just right. This is the bass that's not really seated properly. It makes it really sound effed up, especially on the front end. It makes it sound real sloppy. And observe. Please play. Oh. That's me singing it as I did. Let's do that one more time. Now, did you hear how, as Pete Townsend would say, not that, but as I am, like Pete Townsend would say, that was the backing vocals are still shitty. Now, again, listen to how, even though the drums themselves that I have are in good time to myself viscerally how I want it, if the bass overlay, the accompaniment isn't lined up properly, it makes it sound really effed up. Not in a good way. One more time. Listen to the... I will say my bass drum sound, the drums sound pretty good, and the bass is more. What I did was I did turn up the bass. It's a lot more bassy, low endy on here to play just for demonstration purposes. It's more trebly on the original. Okay, so you heard that. Remember, you can go back and refer to this in a second. I'm going to go back just to where we were with the one that is the bass is seated SEATED properly. Again, compare this to what you just heard. Roll it. Roll it. Do you know what now listen, here's the thing I'm going to say right off the bat. This is a riff that I have at my disposal because I wrote it and I can use without getting into trouble by Warner Chappell or whatever, but it's a point I'm making. Now, I'm going to make a few more videos on this. Now, I intentionally there, and it might not be suitable for all styles and stuff in music like rap and stuff, but it'd be interesting like in rap and stuff if they did use kind of the concept of adjusting time in sort of a dramatic way, like orchestras or like bands like Zeppelin did. Do you understand?